Hi, everyone, and welcome to the 5-Star Homebrew Club program presentation. I see we have quite a few people on here. That's exciting. And today we have John Blickman joining us from Indiana, and he's going to talk about some new things coming up with Blickman, some new products. And as you know, most of you are probably very familiar with Blickman Engineering, but John is the president and founder, and it all started in 2001 when he wanted higher quality equipment. So what does an engineer do? He just makes his own. So we're really excited to have him here present today. And so I will hand it on over to John.
All right. Well, hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. We're in the Blickman Engineering Research Lab. That is, the other half is our break room. But this is where we test all of our equipment and brew batches. In fact, we got 3 batches of beer fermenting in the back corner there. You probably hear the glycol chiller kick on and off. But what I was going to talk to you about mostly today was some of the relatively new products, and then also kind of focus a little bit on the all-in-one systems that seem to be really taking off these days. And I'll start talking a little bit about the all-in-one systems. We actually came out with our Brew Easy almost 10 years ago, which was one of the very first compact brewing systems. Although it's not a single vessel system, it's much more compact, and we designed it for use in apartments and compact areas, or places where this wasn't your sole hobby and you didn't want to dedicate a whole bunch of space to it. So we'll talk a little bit about the Brew Easy first. Since it was one of our first guys, and it's really just 2 Boilermaker kettles, and you've got the top kettle, which is your mash tun, and you've got the bottom kettle, which is your boil kettle, and it's also how you heat your wort. So you've got, in this case, this is electric. We also have a version that's in propane, and you can also use natural gas just with a burner. And how the system functions is you fill the kettle up about halfway on both kettles. And there's actually in Beersmith and other things, there's profiles for this. And then we're going to recirculate to heat. So we're going to go through the pump and then up through the top. And here we've got a valve that's got a flow control orifice in it. So it sets the flow rate all automatically, so there's not much to do. And then we've got inside, we've got our auto Sparge.
Looks like we lost John really quick, so let's try to bring him back on.
Hey, Aaron.
Hey, we lost you.
Yeah, we're trying to get logged back in. Our video thing got unplugged.
Oh, okay. I see you back in.
Okay.
All right.
Sound?
I can hear you, yeah.
We can. Okay.
Yep. And so the video just isn't live yet. So as we're waiting, if anyone has questions that they'd like to ask John, or you can go ahead and type them in the ask a question or in the chat over to the side. Maybe you have a question about a certain product, or maybe a suggestion for a new product. I'm sure John loves to hear that. So anything you have for John, go ahead and you can ask it in the chat, or just ask a question And it looks like I'll hand this back over to you, John.
All right, are we back?
You're back.
All right, sorry about that, guys. We had an accidental unplugging of the camera and microphone. So we have that resolved. So where I was talking about is the auto sparge, which you've had for a number of years. We'll make sure that you don't overflow the mash tun, and it just maintains a constant fixed level. So then we just basically recirculate through here, and that's going to allow you to get the most efficiency out of your mash. And what I like about the Brew Easy system is you get all of the benefits of a 3-vessel system as far as wort quality, clarity. The mash tun functions the exact same as it would, but you don't have the sparging process. You can sparge if you want, but you don't need to. And I lose maybe 10% efficiency. I get about 72% on my Brew Easy, get about 82% on my 3-vessel system. But you're really only talking a couple pounds of grain, so I generally don't worry about it. It's such an easy system. I actually stopped using my 3-vessel system and brew solely on this. In fact, this is my home system that I brought back in. So the other thing that's great about it is the controls on this system. This is our brew commander that we've had out for some time now. It's been super reliable for us, and it there we go. And it's got just a ton of really neat features. I can't go through all of them, but some of the features I'd like to talk about is it's touch entry for everything. You can put in your power percent. Your set point to change is really easy. So, and all those, you've got a pump that you can turn on and off from the screen, and got just tons of optional features like mashing. I can put in all the mash profiles, up to 10 different profiles and 10 steps in each profile, and it'll automatically go through all those steps. Same thing with the boil timer. I can put all my hop additions and other things in to automatically remind me. So I don't have to have different timers or something running on a laptop. I've got it all here, and they can be stored in here as well. What I really like are some of the settings that we've put in. Instead of using a regular PID, where it's just an industrial based thing, we really designed this from the ground up as a homebrew. So I've got a start delay that I can set. Set point alarms, so I can say I want to be notified 5 degrees before I get to boil, for example, or out of range. I want it to alarm me if my temperature gets plus or minus 2 degrees or whatever I want out of range. I can turn alarms on and off. I can calibrate real easily. But what really sets it apart is some of the advanced things, like the mash heating rate. So if I want to do a step mash, it's going to take me some period of time to get up to that temperature, and what you can do is just kind of measure how quickly your system can ramp. And for example, if I have 2 degrees per minute as the ramp rate, so if I know what that is, I just enter that, and then it back calculates and adds the extra time to your step. So like say you've got a 40-minute rest at 152 degrees, you can set your ramp rate in there, and then it'll add, for example, 25 minutes to ramp up to that temperature. So you don't have to wait and do all that. We've got offsets for rims, because we know each rim system loses a little bit of heat, so you can dial that in. Rims protect. If you're like me and you sometimes forget to turn the heater off when you turn the pump off, that's what that is for. It automatically turns your heat off if you kill the pump, so you don't have any scorching. But it's just got a ton of really nice features. Moving over to the next system is our Foundry. So we've got the Foundry is more of a, just a real basic, simple system. And I really like the simple control. You can have your set point, and you can change your power, and then it'll display the actual temperature. So we really designed the Foundry on our anvil line to be super easy to operate. Instead of a separate vessel, we have a grain basket that's perforated on the sides, and also on the bottom for improved flow. And then when you're, you simply do your mash, you can either just recirculate with a pump that we sell, or you can just let it sit in there and just do a real simple infusion mash. It's double wall, so it's got pretty good insulation. And then when you're done, all you have to do is lift the grain basket up, set it on the feet, and then just let it drain. And then once it's drained, you can pick that up and carry it over to the sink. It also is got a hole in the top, so it's distillation ready. You can put the Turbo 500 and a number of different distillation systems on it. But again, real simple system, very economical and very compact. And it also includes a nice immersion chiller, stainless immersion chiller. So this has been a real popular product for us. Moving on to some of the newer product, real quick, we've got our ProLine grain mill. It'll do about 12 pounds a minute. That's shown with our 55-pound hopper. We also have a home-sized hopper that holds about 15 pounds. But it's a great mill, just an amazing crush. Over to our one of our other new anvil products is our line of anvil Conicles. They have a rotating racking arm, 1.5-inch tri-clamp bottom dump, and a simple clamping system on the lid. They're very reasonably priced, so if you've thought about getting into conical but you don't want to spend the extra money for one of the really top models, this is something good to look at. Now, speaking of top models, moving on to the new Blickman G4, we had the first pressurizable conical come out in, I think it was about 2006 is when we came out with our F3 model, and we've made some upgrades to it, but we finally went to our G4 model and really designed this one with all the features that we knew the homebrewers would love. And one of the really unique things we've done is our aseptic racking valve. And what we really like about this is it's modeled after pharmaceutical grade things. So I'm just going to grab this. I'll give you a quick demo. I keep a bottle of vodka handy in case I need a little swig or for sanitizing. And what I like about this is once I've filled my conical, I can just fill the inside of this valve up with vodka, and that keeps everything for every sample sanitary. When I want to go take a sample from the fermenter, I just remove the cap on the bottom. The sanitizer runs out. There's nothing in here, but I can then open the valve, take my sample, put the cap back on, and instead of trying to, squirt things up in the valve and make sure that it's clean and sanitary, I just fill it back up with vodka. And then it stays, and just leave it that way until the next time I need to take a sample. One of the other cool features on our G4, which, it'll handle 15 PSI, so you can do pure uni-tank things. You can carbonate and dispense, ferment under pressure, all sorts of different things like that. But one of the unique things about the G4 is we've got an external level gauge. I've never understood putting etch graduations inside of a conical, because to read it, you have to leave the lid off the fermenter. And although you're not worried about oxidation at that point, because you're actually trying to get oxygen in it, you do need to worry about getting bacterial contamination in it. And I always like my fermenter as closed as I can when I'm doing that, but I also like to read the volume. And this allows you to do it. So it basically just lets this fill up with beer and then vents up to the top. And I can read this. And it's a matter of just pulling this hose out to clean it. So it's super easy to clean. One of the other, I'll take this guy off. On the racking arm, we've borrowed some of the designs from our Pro line. And so we've got a large stem here that tells you where the orientation of the racking arm is. But if you've noticed, I accidentally just popped that off, and that could be disastrous if this was full of beer. But what we've done is put an O-ring inside here. I'll show you in a second. That allows you to move this without it leaking or having to risk blowing this off. And this is this extra O-ring in here. So that keeps everything nice and sealed, even though the clamp is loosened so that you can rotate it. Here we've got a really awesome, very similar to our Pro line, carb stone. And what I like about this carb stone is you can completely disassemble it and get it cleaned inside and out, which you can't do with, with more of the typical home style setup. Up top, we've got a built-in pressure relief valve. Some manufacturers, you have to buy a pressure relief valve. That'll cost you $70 or so. We include one because we want, for safety purposes, we always want it in the tank. We also developed a completely new style of cooling coil that goes in the top. We call this the trombone cooler because that was the first thing that came to mind when we looked at it. So it just kind of stuck. But what I like about it is it's super easy to clean. There's not a ton of coils that you're trying to get in there. If you're CIPing your tank, much easier to get in here and clean everything for the ball to reach it. And the up and down nature keeps a more even temperature throughout the fermenter as it's fermenting and cooling, versus cold down at the bottom and hotter at the top as most of the coil types are set up. So we do like the performance of this. It's also very low restriction. How am I doing on time? I'm getting there. One of our other real simple, almost forgot about this, real simple all-in-one systems that we're coming out with here soon is called the Brew Easy Compact. And here's the recirculation tube, and it's got a lot of little pinholes in it. And that's going to pass the wort through the grain bed of the grain basket. And this grain basket will work very similar to the Foundry, although it's just got a lot more open area for the wort to flow. You can also use this grain basket for hops in the boil, which is kind of handy. So it's kind of a dual purpose. It's coupled with our Riptide pump, which is an amazing pump to use if you've not used one. And then again, it'll have our Brew Commander controller. So you've got all those high-end control features and accuracy of that. So anyway, at this point, I've kind of talked about as fast as I could about these products. So open up for questions if anybody's got anything. And it doesn't have to be about these products or necessarily brewing in general. Just lay it on me. Aaron? Anything yet?
Let's see. Nope, we don't have any questions. Does anyone have any questions for John? John, where that new product that you just showed, is that on the market yet?
Coming
or is
out
that coming out
very soon. Matt, when was that scheduled to come out here? Like the middle of July, something like that?
Should be middle of July.
Yeah, middle of July.
Okay, so in retailers, middle of July.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then you can also purchase direct off our website as well. So sign up for our email list, and you'll be one of the first to be notified.
Awesome. And then everything else is already available that you went through? Yeah,
the G4 is been out about a month or two, and we're taking pre-orders for more, and trying to think. The Brew Easy's been out for a long time. So have the Crucibles have been out. If you're kind of curious about those, just do a Google search and you'll find some reviews on people that have used that. We're actually fermenting 2 of the 3 batches in the Crucible. So we use it here as well.
Awesome. So we do have a question from Keith. He says, I noticed different placements of the Brew Commander temp probe and flow meter in different system setups. Are there specifics for when each is better?
Yes. If you're running a hot liquor tank, I would just put it right into the sidewall of the kettle and you'll get fine control. The problem with putting it inside the mash tun is there's a long lag from the time, because one, you're recirculating at a slower pace than you could with a hot liquor tank because you don't want to stick your mash. And there's just that long time lag from the time you draw a wort off the bottom and return it back to the top, and it gets down to where the probe is. So what happens is you end up overshooting the temperature and oscillating. So it's going up and down and up and down, and it's really hard to control that. So the simplest way, and it's really easy to control it, is to always put it on the pump outlet or the inlet to the into the top of the mash. So anywhere along that point, and then you've just got a small portion of wort that you're heating, so you can get very accurate and stable readings. It's not uncommon for me to get 0.2 of a degree stability on the mash and that return temperature. So that's definitely our recommendation for a mash. But for example, you wanted to put it in a boil kettle, which I can't think right off why you necessarily would, but you could do that, or your hot liquor tank. Just put it right in the tank and you're fine because it's an open vessel of liquid. So good question.
Great. Are there any other questions? We have another one. For a step
great.
mash, does the mash duration timer in the stored mash profiles in a Tower of Power controller or Brew Commander start when the set point of the step is reached?
If you don't, it does not, because we would need a separate, that's another good question. You would need a separate sensor in the mash to let you know that you got to that point. So that's more cost, more transducers, more wires that you're putting all over the place. So what we did was kind of go about it in a slightly different manner. So we have you measure your ramp rate, and then I know how long it's going to take to get from temperature 1 up to temperature 2, and then the controller will calculate that based on your rate and add that much extra minutes to your step. So without doing the math, it may take like 15 minutes for you to ramp, and then a half-hour rest. So it will actually run your entire step for 45 minutes. And then you've got that 15 minutes to ramp, you're at your set, and then it'll maintain it. Yeah, so that works pretty well.
And then another question from Robert in Florida. He said, please talk about the differences and benefits of the G4 versus the Conical. The Cornicle, sorry.
Oh, the Cornicle? The Cornicle was really kind of one of the first that had some of these features. And what I like about the Cornicle is I can even go higher pressures. I can avoid having to transfer it to a keg if I want to. I can just, dump the yeast, flip it over, put the keg bottom on, and I'm in the refrigerator with it. So I like that part of it. It's really easy to clean as far as a keg goes. So once you're using it as a keg, with the bottom coming off, it's super easy to clean. Make sure you've gotten everything. Some of us have skinny enough arms to reach in and scrub, and others don't. But it's also hard to see the underside of the keg. Did you really get that clean? And there's no real questions with it with a Cornicle. I've got a couple at home that I use fairly regularly. The big Conical, what's really nice about those is some of the level gauge features. We did just incorporate the aseptic racking arm into the G4. The cooling system we have for the G4, and we don't for the Cornicle system. We've got where you would just do that inside your refrigerator, for example. But those are the main different features. So.
All right, and then we have another question. We have a question from Greg. He says, I've gone all electric thanks to 2 Brew Commanders, one each in the hot liquor tank and brew kettle. Please talk to me about the benefits of the auto Sparge and the mash tun. Okay,
the auto Sparge, I started doing the all grain 3-vessel brewing years ago, and I cannot tell you how many times I've run it dry or overflowed it trying to match the the flow rates and everything. And I thought, geez, there's got to be a better way to do this. So I actually found an industrial float control and rigged that up and put it on my mash tun. And this was just for brewing. And it took me like 3 or 4 months to realize, geez, this is a great product. Why am I not selling this? And that's basically how that came about. So we developed one specifically for homebrewing, but it works very much like how your toilet works. You flush, you let the water out, and then it fills back up and the float shuts the water back off. But what's really nice is with this, when you crack the valve to drain your mash tun and you got it at the flow rate that you want, you can hook a pump to the back of the auto Sparge, and it will pinch the flow off to exactly match the drain rate of your mash tun. It's uncanny how well it works. And it also puts the return to the top of the grain bed is on with a hose with a float. So it just gently, it rests on top and just gently swirls the wort over the top of the grain bed, or the Sparge hot liquor over the top of the grain bed. So you're not jetting it in or spraying it on top. And it works phenomenally. I've used it for years, and it's one of our more popular products. So that's what I like about that. Was there another piece to that question?
No, that was it. And then
Okay.
And Greg's also asking, then for the Herms, will the auto Sparge keep me with a level water level on grain bed?
Oh yeah, absolutely. When you're anytime you're hooking it up to the auto Sparge, if it gets up to this point that you set it, it's going to pinch the flow off and regulate the flow. So it works great for that application.
All right. Are there any other questions? All right, with that, I just wanted to remind everyone that we have our next presentation from BSG, and that'll be next month on June 22nd, same time, and they'll be talking about hops. So if there aren't any other additional questions, then we'll end it there. Thank you everyone for attending. Thanks, John.
You're welcome. Thanks for having us.
Thanks.